They removed the mole. They weren't really worried about it. They called it a couple weird things. I wasn't that concerned. But 10 days later, they called and said, that was melanoma, which was shocking to them, shocking to me. I thought, here it is. This is the pinnacle of my life. I'm going to die of cancer. I'm going to be that mom, and it's going to be our story. I gotta figure out how I'm going to do that calling, because that is heavy. Like, everyone is out there in really difficult moments in their life, like me and me. And why am I not using this platform to encourage and love these people like this just did to me?
All right, everybody. The Good Hustle. I forgot what the show is called. It's freaking long. My gosh. John Henry.
Zach Williamson.
What do we do?
We are realtors here in Central Pennsylvania, so if you're looking to buy or sell or invest, please give us a call. We'd love to help you.
Yep. And the new backdrop, this was done by Ben, designed it, and it's gorgeous, and we love it. And
the blue.
Blue's my favorite color.
The blue is awesome.
I have on blue pants. I got blue shoes, blue shirt today. So
if you're listening to the audio, you have no idea what we're talking about.
Nope. Phone's blue. But we also wanted to talk about, we actually had 2 weeks off, which is a first that we've done. This is episode 30. So we had a couple weeks off, and there's some reasons behind that. So 2 weeks ago today at about 2:10 in the morning, Taylor, my fiance, heard a loud noise in the kitchen, reached over, felt for me, and I wasn't there. She went out to the kitchen area from our bedroom, and I was laying on my stomach, and I was having a grand mal seizure, so a full seizure. She ran and grabbed the phone, called 911, and the lady on the phone, the dispatcher, was like, is that him breathing? And she said, yeah, because it was really messed up, and she had to do some chest compressions. But the good news was I was pushing her hands off because I didn't need them. So, and
you're so strong,
and I did not like that. So, but cops came, EMT, fire, all that stuff. But I came to probably around 2:40 in the morning. So I was out of it for a while, and I woke up to like 10 people in my house. There's cops, like I said, fire, some old guy in a T-shirt. Still don't know who that guy was. Looked like a different type of version of, what's that guy's name? Smokes a lot of pot. That's a country music singer.
Oh, I was thinking Seth Rogen. I said pot.
Oh, you're talking about
what's
the long hair?
Yeah. Why can't I? No, the old guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Willie Nelson?
Willie Nelson. Yeah, it looked like Willie Nelson. It was Charlie Nelson, his brother. But a couple things. I was taken out on a stretcher and taken by ambulance to a trauma unit. But a couple things I didn't like. A, they just took me out in my underwear. They couldn't put a shirt on me. And I don't normally wear underwear, so I don't know where those came from. Just kidding. And B, they didn't put any Jordans on me or nothing. I just came out there with like bare feet. So, but anyway, it was actually, the hospital was a really good experience. My dad was there, my mom, my brother, tons of friends, tons of family just showed up. The messages were amazing. And I've been struggling a little bit with all of this because it's something that wasn't expected. I had made a video a couple of days ago basically referencing that they think this came from a brain trauma injury that I had 25 years ago when I was 19 from drinking and driving. So when you think that nothing's going to happen, that when you do something, a lot of times it does. And I never thought anything else was going to continue from this. And then I went to the doctor's yesterday, and I still have like a ton of fluid in this ear. So I've been able to hear right for like 2 years. That's still from the same accident. So that's going to be another surgery. So one night can affect the rest of your life. And for me, to be honest with you, the way it affects my life in negative ways is a lot better than it could have been. I could have killed people. I could have killed myself. I could have killed family members, whatever it was. All things considered, I got off really easy. And that's thanks be to God. So, and
we're glad you're here, and we're glad you're okay. And
buddy.
Yeah, I know a lot of people were praying for you. I had friends of mine that you don't even know that were texting me and saying like, hey, is John okay? I saw his video about the accident and stuff. And they feel like they know you just from listening to you from all these episodes and everything. So
I feel bad for them.
Yeah, right. But a lot of people were praying for you.
Thanks. I got a message yesterday that my mom's really worried about you is what the message said. And I've never met this person's mom. Yeah. Like, my mom is so worried about you. I'm like, that is the nicest thing in the world. But I did get a lot of feedback and a lot of prayers. And honestly, that's why we have our guest today. Joanna Dennstaedt, because she had said to me earlier before we started filming, and a lot of kids ask me this when I do presentations, like she said, actually, why don't you ask me the question?
Which one?
The thorn.
Yeah, I guess I would say, would you rather be called to live your life with thorn in the flesh that would remind you of your weakness and God's strength than you would living a life free from that?
Yeah, and it's a really tough question.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, would you rather, which Zach said, I love would you rather questions.
Yeah, they're fun. They test you.
They do test you. And that's a really great question. Zach, what is your thoughts on that? Like, I'm already crying because I know where my brain is going.
I know, yeah. And I talked about this at youth group whenever I was, when I was a youth pastor too, about how sometimes a struggle for maybe a kid who's had it easy, so to speak. No one has it entirely easy, but had it easy relative to the other kids in the youth group, their struggles will look very different than some of the kids who have been through some things because maybe they don't have a reason to really seek God in the same way. And maybe they don't feel a need for him. And so they kind of run things on their own and it's very easy for them. And so I actually think that you learn a lot more about yourself and what you believe and what matters to you facing those challenges. And so I would actually pick the thorn, even though that sounds weird, it sounds bad, but that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, for my thoughts would be like the same. Like when I do presentations in front of schools and talk about my accident and talk about drug and alcohol abuse and all that, like, oh, do you have regrets? And I'm like, I wouldn't be here talking to you today. But then on the flip side, I'll do presentations and stuff, and I'll be looking at these kids at certain schools. Like, let's say I'm talking at a Christian school. I'm like, man, these kids have no idea how lucky they have it compared to what I had it growing up because I didn't have any faith to rely on or depend on anything. Like there was no God for me. Or even like I'll have jealousy just looking at the kids. And these are true thoughts. Like I'll go to Chick-fil-A and look at all these kids that just, some 17-year-old's driving a really nice car and it's got parents' credit card and they can buy everything they want. Like that was not my life. And then there's a jealousy. And at the same time, first off, jealousy is one of the 7 deadly sins, but at the same time, like I shouldn't be jealous of that. Yeah. I just hope and pray that those kids utilize the gifts that they're given early on to benefit them and people around them.
Yeah.
Because I had to do, like things like you grew up, let's say, where did you grow up?
St. Louis.
St. Louis, okay.
Mizzou.
Yeah. Played sports in high school.
Played sports in high school.
What'd you play?
Lacrosse and field hockey.
Yep. All state.
All American.
Yep.
All the things. Wanted to play in college.
Yep.
Wanted to go Division III so I could play both because I couldn't pick which one I liked better.
That's awesome.
So I ended up on the East Coast at Messiah.
Which brings you to sit here today.
Yeah.
Like the only reason I know you is because you went to Messiah, West Shore Christian Academy. We've coached a ton of the same kids.
Yeah.
I coached girls basketball. You coached lacrosse over there. Field hockey or lacrosse. Yeah. You coached, and I've been to your games, and it's super fun to watch. It is super because those girls are, and they're good.
Lacrosse is awesome.
Yeah, and she has some. Yeah. You have a bunch of championships too.
Like, we do now.
Yeah.
Some districts.
She's like, it was easy. Yeah,
we do now.
Took a while.
Collecting them like Michael Jordan.
But she did. Like she built a program up.
From nothing. Yeah. I started the team 10 years ago. This will be the 10th.
Is that right? That's awesome.
Yeah. But the big deal is 10 years ago, also something else happened in your life that was life-changing for you. And what was that?
I got the cancer phone call. I tell people a lot are going to experience that trajectory-changing moment in their life like you've experienced. I'm one of those people that was living out my life and all of a sudden the boom happened.
Yeah.
Everything changed.
And this was melanoma?
Yes. So, it's a whole story and complicated one, but I was diagnosed with metastatic melanoma, stage 3B, advanced, metastasized to my lymphatic system.
Oh, so it's in your lymph nodes?
Yep.
Skin cancer went to your lymph nodes?
Well, yeah.
How does this work? Like, because I'm not a doctor.
Melanoma is a skin cancer that does metastasize and kills people at incredible rates.
What's his name died from it? The singer.
A lot of people. What?
I just made a movie about him.
The Jamaican guy.
Yes.
I thought.
Why am I drawing a blank?
I don't know either. Jamaican singer.
Yeah.
Marley.
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
That's him.
I knew
That's
Ben would
he
know.
did a long time ago.
Yes. He died from that. Yeah. But okay, go ahead. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no, it's I had no idea what it was before I got that phone call, and I was like, what? What is this? And then, everybody says don't look at the internet, but I did. And then, yeah. So, I mean, we can talk through that path.
Yeah,
but,
I'd love to.
But,
So can I ask you a mini question? So when you were younger and growing up and everything, were you pretty much just focused on sports, or were you kind of thinking about career or anything like that? Or you were just kind of all in?
I was that person.
Okay.
I mean, my focus and purpose in life was to be like the best I could be at. I did all the things, play on all
I've
the
seen it.
games and that was my focus. And you know what? A lot of my testimony is that I was that grit person. Work as hard as you can, gain as much success from your hard work as you can until all of a sudden you can't.
Yeah. And I've seen it in action just watching her coach. Just the 110% never stops, which is really cool
Yeah, I mean,
and exhausting.
yeah, it's exhausting. That's how I live most of my life.
Do you think you adopted a lot of that hard work ethic from your parents or from somewhere like that? Or
Yeah, my therapist and me talk about this a lot.
this is a therapy show.
Yeah,
now.
so where does this come from, and why are you built like this?
Sure.
But I've had a lot of obstacles in my life that I have been able to grit overcome.
Yeah.
Cancer
it's a great
is not
superpower.
like one of those, or at Messiah, a lot of my testimony is I went into Messiah thinking I'm going to be super successful and I was made for this. And then all of a sudden,
You were just another.
knee surgery after knee surgery after knee surgery, and
Your body couldn't keep up with you.
couldn't keep up. And so, I chose my life verse back in 2002 to be 2 Corinthians 4:16, don't lose heart. Outwardly, you're wasting away. Yet inwardly, you're being renewed day by day. And I thought, this is my difficult thing. This is my challenge. It's going to be injury and overcoming that. And I'm going to show the world, I can do this. But I look back now, and that was just a training ground for the real marathon that I was going to be called to live.
It's funny what you just said. There's so many things we have control of.
We think.
Amen.
Yeah.
That we think we have control of.
Yeah.
And I think what I struggled with the most 2 weeks ago, which really actually I went to a depression type mode. They had to take me off of medication, put me on something else. I really struggled with the fact wow, here's another thing that I have no control over. And even last night when I went to bed, I will be honest, I said, and this isn't just a Christian show. That's not what this is. It's just, but I said, God, if you take me tonight while I'm sleeping, it's okay. I've helped. Mm-hmm. I know I've done your purpose as much as I can for as long as I could.
Yeah.
And I was really at an ease last night with you know what, if I go, I go. Yeah. Because I don't know what's going to happen in my sleep now. Because 2 weeks ago when I went to sleep, I woke up in a stretcher and then in the trauma unit.
Yeah, there's fear in that. But what a powerful place to be able to come to.
Yeah, last night was and yesterday was my first day back from vacation, and it was the most relaxed I've been. It was. It was I went to the office, got to hang out with Trent and Zach, and we got to do some work, and I got to take my nap on my own personal couch with my dogs, and it was it was relaxing. It was.
Yeah.
So how many knee surgeries did you end up going through? And how much playing time did you end up having at Messiah because of this? And what were you studying while you were there?
Great questions, all of them. I had 5 knee surgeries from 2002 to 2000.
Was it ACL, meniscus?
All the things. A lot of meniscus, which is why in my 40s I need a knee replacement.
You already had it?
No, I mean, I need that now.
Oh.
So we talk about things that never go away. Mm-hmm. But I also wasn't, I was young and not, would I go back and have changed anything? No, I pushed through everything. So I would have a surgery, fix it, rehab next season, and go and go and go and go. I had to sit. The only season I had to sit was my senior year field hockey at Messiah so that I could play my senior year lacrosse season. I was not willing to.
Lacrosse was your big.
That was my main thing. That my love. So I was a criminal justice major. I don't even know what that is. I was a sports major. That's what I was.
Right.
She was CSI. It's okay.
Yeah.
There's a whole show about it.
I did. Yeah. I thought I'll be a police officer. I I was very interested in that until my physical body was, after I graduated, needed a break from everything.
Right. I was going to say police officers need their knees.
Yeah, and I couldn't do any of that training. I couldn't do the police academy. I couldn't do anything. So I started coaching at Messiah after that. Started on the staff as a women's lacrosse assistant, and then we got married. And
Yeah, how did you guys meet?
at Messiah, he was a lacrosse player too.
I always ask this to
Cute,
people
right?
at Christian schools. Were you guys a ring by spring?
No, I was so against that. But we were quickly after we graduated and realized, like, what are we doing? We're both living right here in our own apartments, like trying to do life. Like, what are we doing?
Let's just get married. Yeah.
Yeah. So then we got married the next year after we graduated.
Yeah.
But
and,
we were both
and he's
busy.
awesome. I've got to meet him and talk to him so many times over the years, and just and the way that you two, especially, are with your kids, is amazing. You have 4 children.
4 kids. Yeah.
Yeah, so 3 girls, 1 boy.
3 girls, baby boy.
Yeah.
Got that boy, you know?
So you have, what is it, 5th grade or 6th grade? Oh, 6th
Yeah.
grade.
6th, 8th, sophomore, and a senior.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Those are fun ages, though.
It's fun. It's fun. I'm not ready for the next season of like releasing them out into the
That's
cold,
I'm excited
hard world.
to watch them play basketball this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what they do.
Oh.
Are any of them super into lacrosse?
They are super into lacrosse.
Okay.
Yes.
All of them, minus my little guy. He's a soccer player. But Rose is going to play in college. So,
Yeah. Oh, did she make a decision?
yeah, she committed to Presbyterian down
Really?
in South Carolina.
Yeah, I know where it is. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So
Good for her.
that's her thing.
When is the lacrosse season?
It's in the spring.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So she plays soccer at school, but she didn't know about basketball.
Okay. Well,
She's, all
sometimes
the
you got to
things.
protect yourself too.
Well, right.
Yeah,
She has
because
big goals ahead. So,
I have a friend. She's a really, really, really great basketball player, and she's going to be a junior this year. And last year, she's like, "Oh, I'll play field hockey." First day,
yeah.
tore her ACL.
Yeah.
Just couldn't play basketball last year, which is her sport. She just wanted to throw in another sport, so she's not doing that again. She had 1 game.
Yeah, that's rough.
It is rough,
It's
but
terrible.
she's rehabbed well, and she wanted to go back and play last year, and her parents wouldn't let her, even though she had doctor's approval. Like come February, they're like, "Why?
Yeah.
You know, you can wait till the summer,
Yeah.
AAU stuff," and that's what they ended up doing, which I think is really good because these kids are so hyper focused today on one sport, and the body's not designed to do that.
No, it's true.
It's not like you're not supposed to throw a baseball 12 months out of the
Yeah.
as a pitcher.
Right.
You're not.
Right.
That's why these kids like, oh, I had my first Tommy John surgery when I was 21.
Right.
Right.
It's like that's
insane.
not
Right.
supposed to happen.
Right.
Yeah. So you guys get married.
We get married. He's working. I'm coaching. We started having kids after a couple years. Life was good. I was a totally anxious, paranoid mom with 4 little babies, wondering what in the world happened.
Working with your therapist on your doses.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working on right now.
Trying to figure all of that
Try
out.
to get them evened out. So
But what does your husband do, by the way?
He's in medical sales. He was in device sales, and now he's in pharmaceuticals.
So he's a sales guy like me and John.
Yeah, he's a sales guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And you were doing lacrosse the whole.
Yeah, I was nannying before I had my kids. I was very content being a mom. That was like I was a goal of mine, and I was proud to be that and serve my family in that way. But I had no idea what that was all going to look like.
yeah. So then 2014 rolls around.
2014 rolls around. My kids are 7, 5, 3, and I have a 1-year-old little boy. And I was diagnosed with metastatic melanoma.
How that all happened.
I mean, yeah, it was chaos. I had a mole on my leg that I had checked out. I was at Hershey Dermatology with the top dermatologist there because I had some crazy pregnancy rashes, which again, I mean, I can go back and tell you the little fingerprints all along the way that just paved the way for this whole thing to unfold in my life. So when I had that mole, I called, went and had it checked out that summer of 2014. They removed the mole. They weren't really worried about it. They called it a couple weird things. I wasn't that concerned. But 10 days later, they called and said, that was melanoma, which was shocking to them, shocking to me. And at the point, we really had no idea what we were actually dealing with either. So the first surgery I had, because of the depth of the tumor into my leg, was called a wide local excision, where they removed the tumor. It had grown down into my muscle on the top of my leg, into my quad. So they had that removed. And because of the depth of it, they tested my lymph nodes in my left groin to see if it had metastasized. So that was the first surgery I had. And then waiting about, I don't know, which felt like 5 years, probably a week. And they called and it had metastasized into my left groin lymph nodes. So I scheduled a surgery ASAP to have a complete lymph node dissection of all of my groin lymph nodes in my left leg. That was super traumatic. It was a big deal. I had that at Hershey. You go into a surgery like that and you're going to do it because you've got cancer growing in your body, but the repercussions and the life changes of some of those things are like, you don't weigh those pros and cons. You're like, there's cancer, get it out. Right, so, now.
What do you mean by the?
All kinds of different things. Lymphedema, a lot of women have it for breast cancer. So that's when you remove lymph nodes and you change up your lymphatic system. It's greatly impacted my immune system and a lot of things like that. But then after that, I knew I was looking ahead at a really hard, long treatment. Didn't exactly know what that was going to look like for our family. So I went to my doctors at Hershey. I just felt that wasn't the best fit for me. So I went out to Penn where there's a melanoma center. One of the best melanoma doctors in the whole country is like an hour and a half away. And I'm like, why am I not going here? So I settled at Penn where I started treatment there and had treatment every week for, I lasted 9 months until it about killed me. But I was
insane.
Out at UPenn. So, meanwhile, I have a 3-year-old and 1-year-old. So we have to hire a nanny and we have family living with us and a housekeeper. And it was pure chaos.
No, it was like deep.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So what are you, as you get the news and as you're kind of hearing about this for the first time, I'm sure there's a lot of shock and everything. So like, what are you thinking and feeling? Like, I'm just trying to empathize with like, if I got that news, like where did your head go in the beginning? What do you start telling people? Like, how are you, how did you handle all of that?
Peace that passes understanding thing? People always freak out and are like, how are you doing this? So many people are like, how? People now are like, how? And they're like, you don't realize what God gives you when you need it. You just are so fearful you're not going to have what you need when you get that. But there were, I could tell you, we could sit here for 5 days and I could tell you about the ways God provided for my family, about the people that stepped up, about the friends that carried us. We were that family that was like the sick mom, the 4 kids in the neighborhood with like everybody stepped up and things that happened. I don't want to get like emotional, but we can continue to talk about the path that God was laying out before me. I thought this was all about me. You do at some point. Like,
by the way, guys, if you're enjoying this episode of the Good Hustle podcast, please go ahead, leave a like, subscribe on the YouTube, and also we are on Spotify and Apple Podcasts now. So if you want to listen without the video part, you can do that.
Yep. And if you're looking for any real estate needs, whether you're buying, selling, or investing, please contact Zach or myself. Our numbers are below. Back to the podcast.
I thought, here it is. This is the pinnacle of my life. I'm going to die of cancer. I'm going to be that mom, and it's going to be our story. I gotta figure out how I'm going to do that calling because that is heavy. So I started reading. Every book about suffering in this life that was out there to read. And I educated myself on the purposes of suffering in our lives, why difficulty comes into our lives, why God allows it, why if there's a good God, Heavenly Father that loves us so much, would he allow difficulty like this? Why would he do this to my kids? I never done anything wrong. Why me? Like, I don't deserve this. Look at the family down the street. They're older and they have no kids and they're fine. Why? So when I'm asking all those questions, it was like I ask a question the next day I wake up and it's like, boom, there's an answer. Yeah. I remember being out at UPenn, the starting sort of my calling in my life. I really feel like this was that trajectory changing calling was laid out before me. I'm sitting at UPenn in this huge hospital where everyone has cancer. And I'm looking around the room and I'm like, there's a lot of older people. I'm super young at my diagnosis for what I was going through. And I just remember, not maybe audibly, I've never heard God, a lightning bolt, but just say, look around the room. You're not here for you. You're here for me to bring hope into this hard place to these people that are in their darkest moments and like, this is for you now. This is your place where I'm calling you to be. I can't have the neighbor come in here. You have to have cancer, be going through this and own this too, for this to be your mission field where I'm calling you to be. Yeah, so there was ownership. I had to say, I can't run away from this. Can't change it, but I can change how I respond to it and what I do with this.
Yeah, and I think about like when I got a light cancer call and I was like, my gosh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody ever wants that C word. Nobody ever wants that phone call.
No.
Like they don't. And when I got it, it was just like, okay, here it is.
Yeah.
And then when I had the seizure, we had to wait for this MRI to come back because they wanted to see if there was a tumor.
Yeah.
And it was from some scar tissue or something. But I remember being like, my gosh. Mm-hmm. And then they came in the last morning and he's like, hey, my name's Eric. I'm coming in to check your white blood count. I was like, that's it. Cancer. I'm dead. Literally, that's where my brain went. So I called Taylor. I was like, Taylor, they just freaking came in and tested for white blood count cells. Like they're checking this counts.
Yeah.
She's like, it's fine. Well, then she calls my sister. She's like, he's dying. Because she's like telling me on the phone, like, he's fine. He's fine. But like deep down, like we live in this fear. And for you to come out and be like, you know what? I'm going to own it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to read up on it, which makes me want to read up on, like, I need to read up on this.
I'll give you all the books.
Okay, all the.
Be careful what you wish for.
Might learn a little too much, John.
Actually, what I need is a book, a motivational book to get me to read more motivational books. Yes. Like, I need that book to be like, hey, you got a ton. Because I get a ton in the mail. Yeah. I start all of them.
Yeah.
Pretty good. They all got good beginnings.
Yeah.
They do. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Summary's awesome on the front.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
So,
it's true.
But yeah, what you were talking about makes so much sense. Just getting to know you about like how, even the book thing, like you seem like such a doer. Like whenever trials come up, you just do as much as possible. Right. But I think the one nugget that I'm hearing from you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that you started realizing with the cancer thing and with the stuff that happened with your knee that you can control as much as you can control, but there's always going to be something else, right? Mm-hmm. And there's always going to be things that are completely just in God's hands. And I think that that's something that a doer probably has a problem making peace with. I can imagine.
Yeah, it's been really hard. I mean,
and you're barely 30 at this time.
That's just over 30.
Yeah, which is crazy because and this wasn't the only bout you had.
For what? For difficult life? Yeah.
For difficult life. And at the same time, now mind you, you're going through all this and you're helping. Did you help start the Wisca cross team at the same time?
I did because
how?
Against my therapist's don't do anything for 5 years wishes.
Yeah.
I thought, well, what if I only have 5 years left?
Right, sure.
So seize the freaking day, people, and started a lacrosse team, started a nonprofit. I mean, here we go.
Yeah.
Do I look back and think, whoa, like, slow down, Joe? I've got a whole life to live. But I did not think that at the time or did not know that. So I thought I will live with purpose every breath that God gives me to live in this life. If it's a year, if it's 5, if it's 10, which was just this past week, like I will.
You have your anniversary this last week?
Yep.
When was it?
August 7th.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And how do you still have to go back for checkups a lot? Like how often are you seeing a dermatologist? Every 6 months?
Yeah. So that's a whole thing. I mean, that's like, I don't share about that a lot because there's some people getting that diagnosis today and their overwhelming's different than mine, but that will never leave me. Every 6 months I'm at Penn or Hershey. So I don't go without 4 months without labs, scans, appointments or something. Wow. Still.
And that's the thing that I'm worried about. Like how often do I have to get checked out now? Because I went to the doctor yesterday for the first time since I left the hospital. And I don't have a neurologist appointment until the 27th of September. But I also sent a bunch of information in yesterday to Johns Hopkins because finding a great neurologist in this area is not really easy. UPenn has a good one.
Yeah.
Hopkins has some really good ones. It's just hard to find the right ones. And it's hard to get into these appointments.
Yeah.
Like it's my brain. And that's the one thing I've been struggling with is like, I've never really thought about it. Like, oh, this is still going to affect my brain later. For me, it's always been, oh, John doesn't have a filter. Oh, and I've always made fun. Like, I had a frontal lobe injury. That there's some scar tissue up there. It's hilarious because I don't have a filter. I'm an HR nightmare. And there's a line, and I go around it. Like Nate knows, and
gonna get the studio canceled, John.
Hey, I don't do it on air, so it's funny because people are like, "That's not you." I saw the podcast. That's not you. But and I always made fun of it, like it's nothing. But now I have to really look deep and think, my gosh, this is my actual brain that is having issues. Like, what the heck? It's hard to grasp that.
Yeah.
So for 2 weeks, I really did struggle. I just did not feel like myself. And of course, I felt very cloudy. I was very confused. He came to the hospital and I kind of remember him being there. And then I was like, wasn't Dalton there when you were there? He's like, yeah. And then there was a ton of people there that I don't remember being there.
Yeah.
There was a ton of phone calls I made, text message I made. I canceled a podcast that morning. I don't know how I remember to do that. Yeah. I did. I was like, Brian, I had to see, and so how were you throughout this, especially here? Besides the fact that you're listen, I got to get to the next level, or God's putting this in my hands and I'm going to beat this no matter what. But
I mean, yeah, it's a fog. It's just a fog.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you cannot even comprehend or try to understand living through that difficulty every single day. Emotionally, I was so scared. I really thought I remember almost out of body experiences looking at my family operating without me thinking this is the future for them. But in that, gosh, your parenting changes when you realize they're not yours anyway.
Mm-hmm.
God has just given them to you for whatever season it is to steward them.
Stewardship. Yep.
Because if that was I going to be okay with that? I had to ask myself those hard questions because I couldn't continue to live not knowing what it would look like, trying to hold on to everything and not releasing those things. Actually, the hardest part for me was after I was done with that year of treatment and gone through everything, when I was asked to stay here, which this is going to sound super crazy, but when you're in those moments, like you just said, and you're going to bed at night and you're saying, if this is it for me, I believe that I've well done, good and faithful servant. You could say that to me. This is hard too. I don't want to live my whole life doing this. This is hard. So to live as Christ and to die as gain, when you fully accept that maybe that's okay, that's the life you've been called to live, and then you're not. I had to realize I was still going to be married to Kevin for a lot of years and have to parent my kids. Yep. A lot of things that I'm I needed to emotionally reconnect back to life. I was staying here.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to some people, but it's hard to live in that in between, not knowing what your life is going to look like. So you have to release a little, but then when you reconnect, it was really hard for me to say wait a second. I was so ready. This was so hard. I don't want to do this. I thought that I had done what you called me to do.
Yeah.
And then he said, nope, you're going to stay here and you're going to live with that thorn. And you're going to, just wait all the things you're going to.
It's funny because I felt like my thorn was slowly coming out. And then 2 weeks ago, it was
yeah.
Just shove it back in a little bit.
There's a reminder.
Don't get so comfortable.
Uh-huh.
And that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does.
So, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, buddy.
I was just going to say, as you were talking, I was thinking about how I was reading on your website a little bit earlier about, something that had gotten you through a little bit of this. And you were telling us about how, as all of this is going on, you started your nonprofit and all those kind of things. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that side of it?
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about that, which is just an amazing story. And it just magnifies how big and huge our God is when we think we're in control and we're not.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I was that family with a lot of help, and I knew who a lot of those people were. Our preschool was helping us, and friends were driving my kids everywhere, and people were making us meals and gift cards and all the things to help us. It's a huge blessing, the community that we were in. But one day, here's my criminal justice background too. I received a package in the mail that was anonymous. And I couldn't handle it because I knew everything from everywhere that everyone was doing, tracking it in my brain, thanking people. Like, it was from nobody, but it was like, to me, it was so personal. A lot of stuff was to my kids, whatever, helping us. And it was like cancer specific to me. It was things that were helping me with treatment. So I took the little label on the postage thing and I looked up the person's name that sent it, used good old Facebook to stalk this woman in Parma, Ohio. And I sent her a Facebook message, which I was just reading like my blog this past week. I kind of read through my whole blog, just going back, and I was reading my entry about this. And I'm like, I sent this woman in Ohio this message, like cryptic, this is going to be really weird to you, but I'm pretty sure something showed up on my doorstep from you. I think it might be like an Etsy thing or something, but like, just ignore this message if this isn't for you. But within seconds, she responded to me saying, it was from me. I tracked it when it showed up on your doorstep. My family's praying for you. My coworkers are praying for you. And she had heard my story through a friend of a friend of a friend. She tried to say somebody's name. I never heard of them before and had been reading my blog and praying for me and my family in Ohio. And sent this package to me. And I'm like, the minute that showed up, I tell people that's when the vision for Radiant Hope started. When I like immediately thought, why am I not doing this for people? Like everyone is out there in really difficult moments in their life, like me. And why am I not using this platform to encourage and love these people like this just did to me? So I tell people Jenny Duncan actually started Radiant Hope in Parma, Ohio.
I was going to say, like, this is Jenny Parma. Like this.
Yep.
Yeah. Jenny Duncan.
Jenny Duncan.
Shout out Jenny Duncan.
Shout out Jenny Duncan.
So and I wrote in my blog I was reading last week, like my last line of that blog, 2014, October of 2014 was, Jenny, you have no idea the impact that you just made.
I mean, and the fact that she sends this, and we're looking at 10 years.
Yeah.
Because October's in just a couple months.
Yep.
And you can tell because Halloween decorations are everywhere already.
The candy corn.
We need a high
You get garbage in a bag.
Yeah, it's all over the grocery store.
Taylor's like, candy corn. I mean, I was like, you mean turd in bag? She's like, it's delicious. I said, that is poop. It's disgusting.
I love candy corn.
Do you really?
I do. I'm a candy corn
You
guy.
love it or you hate it?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I love it.
Gross. But I think that's such an amazing story because then you start Radiant Hope and now you're helping others.
Yeah, so slowly I started taking gifts to the hospital where I was spending a lot of time. Started making these little bags with some friends that we would drop off at people's doorsteps. Like we'd hear they were doing cancer or something hard, and we would make them a little thing with an anonymous note from Radiant Hope, and we would drop it off. Started shipping packages, started all the things. And I guess we incorporated as a nonprofit in September of 2015. So this will be our 10th year of incorporation going into this year. And if you look at our programs and what we're doing, it is all really what God used my life to do, not for me, but for me to multiply, to impact thousands of people.
Now, can you tell everybody what the website is?
RadiantHope.com.
Okay.
Yep. And all of our programs are on there, all the things that we're doing and I mean, our mission is to support and encourage those whose lives are impacted by cancer. So I knew that was like sort of the place that God was calling me in my life, and I, talk about the thorn in the flesh. You get that phone call for yourself, but now I'm living out that phone call moment with 50 people a month.
I was going to ask you
that many a month? Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And that's the thing, like, we don't know people that I wish everybody listened to this, especially locally, because you would learn so much about our community and the nonprofits and the way people help other people. If you just listen to half of our episodes, you would be astonished with how many people just help others locally. It is and honestly, that was the point of the show.
Yeah.
Well, originally, obviously, we talk about this every time, but it was a real estate podcast for one episode. And then we both looked at it, they were like, boring. Like, that's dumb, right?
Nate told us it was boring.
Yeah, Nate was like, guys, that was great if you like stupid. I love how we get to put words in Nate's mouth the whole time.
he just smiles. He
And he
can't
just
say
sits over there
anything.
and smiles at us. I'm just waiting for, he'll never give me the finger, but I'm just waiting something to him. That's the thing, Jen, or Joe. Like, you are helping 50 people a month. And nobody would know about this if it wasn't for like this. Well, a lot of people would because you do promote this a lot. But we're going to try to spread this out as much as possible where other people are able to know. Maybe we can get you to 75 people a month.
Yeah.
Not sure if, and that's awesome.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and the biggest, and Radiant Hope is, this is huge. And Nate and I actually talked about it a little bit yesterday. But the thing I wanted to discuss a little bit today was I got a message, and I'm just sharing that I got a lot of messages when I put this 5-minute post up the other day about my seizure and how one night, one decision can affect the rest of your life. But the things that I've done since I got sober and how that has affected other people has far outweighed the negatives that have happened in my life. Far outweighed that.
Yeah.
And I've got to coach sports for like 13 years. I coached hundreds of kids, football and basketball. And like I said early in the show, you and I got to coach a lot of the same girls. I can tell you from a bystander, coach, peer standpoint, watching you coach, nobody does it better than you. Nobody has. Cornetto has a really great impact as well. But I watch you coach and I watch your relationship with these girls, the girls, their families, their parents, and how much they look up to you and how much they're learning from you and how much they're taking from not the sport,
Right.
but from
Right.
the life lessons, the faith, everything. And I've never seen anything like it. In all of my experiences coaching over the last 14 years, I've never seen anything like it. And that's what I want to talk to you about is the beauty in what you do for the youth, the kids, not only your kids, but how much you are showing what, like Radiant Hope, all these kids, they know what that is.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about anything when I was that age. I had no idea. Radiant Hope?
Yeah.
I was more up with dope.
John was on Radiant Dope.
I was on Radiant Dope. Yeah. Up with dope. Oh, what was it? Up with dope, down with dope. Anyway, but literally the stuff that you're doing, like, just if you go through your Facebook and look at pictures of you and the kids, like, it's amazing to me what you're doing for them. Like, how is that to you? Like, when you step off that field or when you're dealing with these kids or they're over at your house, like how does that feel emotionally for you today? Like, just to know, like, this is one of the reasons God kept me.
Yeah, I mean, I know the impact early on in my life with athletics, how much an important a coach's role in your life can play. I take that not lightly at all. I mean, I take that as a very high calling. I know that each one of those girls that comes into my life for that season at a time has been gifted to me for that minute to steward for when they're in their 40s like me, not so that they can win a lacrosse game.
You do like winning.
I do like winning. Disclaimer, I like to win.
She's got championships.
She got rings.
More than LeBron. Okay, keep going.
I know, like, there's the great thing about coaching at Wisca is I can share my faith and my testimony truly, and I can plant seeds of that for these kids. I know that a lot of these kids, when they're 15, 16, 17 years old, haven't yet hit that pinnacle of difficulty in their life that's going to come. And if I can be of any encouragement to them to establish a foundation now in their life that will help them with that difficulty, then that's my philosophy in coaching. Sports teaches you a lot about how to overcome things in your life. And so I'm using the platform of lacrosse to teach that to people, but building a team and a community where people are loved and accepted for who they are and encouraged by someone that believes in them is something that is really hard to find for our kids these days.
It is. And I remember, and we both know, we're friends with Joe Lehman. She's the one that actually got me into coaching originally. And then she got me into coaching from a church level to a Christian school level. She got me into coaching at Wisca. And I remember early on, like I don't have kids, never had kids, was planning on having kids. A couple divorces later, it didn't happen. But I remember early on, if you look back in your high school, middle school, elementary school coach or sports careers, I remember having some good coaches. I really remember having some bad ones.
Oh, yeah.
I do.
For sure.
And the bad ones really affected a lot of sports for me.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, like, my dad was a really good coach. Like, and I've said this before, like, I was JP on the field. I was John in the car, John at home, but JP on the field. Like, I was treated just like everybody else. Wouldn't even call me by my house name, you know? But when she said, hey, will you coach? My thought was, you know what? If I don't have kids, if I can impact somebody in a positive way, because I remember what it was like to have a bad coach, like, that was huge for me.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Joe Lehman, shout out, because you propelled me to do a ton of coaching, including I got to coach all 5 of her sons.
Yeah.
Which is one of the biggest blessings.
Yeah.
Well, they're my church nephews. But like, did you have those coaches that you remember that it wasn't great? And then coaches that it was like, wow, that coach really made a difference.
Yeah, I had a lot of coaches that really made a difference. My mom was my high school coach, which was so difficult. And it's difficult to coach my kids. It's hard to, Brad McCarty, shout out, says, coach your kid if they're the worst or the best, but not in between. Yeah. And it's really difficult to coach your kid and try to find that place for them if they're not finding it for themselves. And so it was hard for her to coach me, but I learned a lot through that coaching now. And then my coach at Messiah was Rob Pepper. Everybody knows Rob Pepper.
Rob Pepper is, yep.
And honestly, that was a huge blessing in my life, because he has coached me for life. He hasn't just coached me for lacrosse at Messiah's success. And so he's been a huge mentor and cheerleader for me all the way through Radiant Hope, but through cancer, young kids. His wife watched my babies when I would coach with him. I went back to coach with him for years after I graduated. So I've had people that have taken it to that next level and taken it seriously that I would like to model after for sure. But I also just know how much you can teach kids in those moments. I know kids that struggle at home and struggle with life. And if they can have a place where they're loved and encouraged and cheered on and learn how to use their gifts that God gave them to honor God, but also to be who they're made to be, leadership skills, all of that. So I try to foster that environment the best that I can. I always say you're not building an athlete, you're building a person that's going to leave you very quickly. And I want them to look back at their time with me and feel like that was a huge training ground, foundation building for their life running after Jesus.
I think he's in the middle of like starting that process in so many ways. I can watch, because he's 29. He has a 1-year-old. He was a youth pastor, so he's already done it with the youth. And I can already tell you, I know he's going to be coaching his son in sports.
Oh, I'd love to. Basketball for sure. I was a basketball kid.
Yeah.
But while you're talking the whole time, I'm thinking about like what he's going to be doing, like his future set up to start doing this as well. It's going to be really cool to watch.
Yeah, except I have a bad back, so if Emery's anything like me, he'll probably throw on his back when he's in high school, which is very embarrassing because you're supposed to do that when you're old. But I threw my back like 4 times, so yeah, that was rough.
Yeah,
but I think, but you have that ability, and I think, and if you do it the right way, which I know you would, that ability and that faith to show, life lessons, and and even if some people don't have all of the life lessons, like say you and I have, like, I love when people say, hey, John, will you come tell your story? John, will you come tell your story?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
I will never deny that.
Yeah.
Because I know that every time somebody asks me, it's not really them asking me.
Yeah.
It's a bigger power than them asking me, because my story needs to be said or shared with maybe just one person.
Right.
And that's exactly what I was going to touch on too, John, is like, as you guys have been talking this whole time, I've been thinking that song "Graves into Gardens." You probably know that song, about how God will take suffering, and you probably answered this question yourself whenever you were reading all those books on like, why me, like what is this suffering serving a purpose for? And of course we can never really know what that greater purpose truly is,
right?
But as I was listening to both of you guys talk, I could hear like, well, God needed you, because who else was going to do something like Radiant Hope? Who else was going to start something like a nonprofit like that, right? Like he needed someone like you to have a moment like that to be able to help 50 women, every day. You know what I mean? Like, and someone like John who would get in front of a camera and be able to tell his story in a powerful way. And those things led to something beautiful, as tough as they were and as horrible as they are.
Our pastor, we've been going to a new church, and the pastor said, it's like, bad things happen. Mm-hmm. Like, that's not everything happens like, oh, it's not always it. Everything happens for a reason. It's like, this happened. Now the big man's going to pull something out of it to turn into positive.
Yeah.
And for you, it's like, hey, listen, like, I love what you just said, Zach, about like, she's here for a reason. She's been kept here for a reason. That's why I know I was here for my car accident. Mm-hmm. Like, even though the next 9 years was a mess of drugs and alcohol and just more abuse, and I was, I was a turd. And I know that.
Like candy corn?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a big bag of candy corn, like Brock's 50-pound in a Costco bag of crap. And,
sorry.
But I know there's a reason. And that's what I want to tell everybody. It's like, listen, I don't care if you believe in God or Buddha or whatever, like something bigger than you. Like, there is something bigger than you. There is.
Yeah.
And if you can't believe that, it's going to be a struggle for you.
Yeah.
Because the minute you think that you're the biggest, strongest, greatest thing on the planet, the minute you think you're the God of this world, that's when crap hit the fan for me.
Right.
And it always has.
Right.
And I can tell you, the last 12 months were probably the best 12 months I've had in a very long time. And then boom.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know when it's going to happen.
You don't. You can't plan for it.
You can't.
You can't live in fear of it.
Mm-mm.
I was going to ask you, and it's okay if you have to do it a little bit differently for the show and everything, but when someone does come to you and when they talk to you about like, hey, I just found out, like, and I'm really scared and I have no idea what to do at this point. Can you kind of take us through what those conversations look like? As if for anyone listening right now who might be facing something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I want you to do.
Yeah.
I kind of want to end with this.
Okay.
I do. I want to end with you just looking into the camera and just talking to somebody and just telling them, like, listen, whatever you want. Like, what would you tell somebody?
Yeah. I think a lot of things. I think it's hard for me that this is what my life has come to, because it's not easy still for me. You really want me to talk to them?
Yeah, talk to them.
But I think that my story in my life does give a lot of people hope that there can be purpose in your pain. And I think that's why people cling to Radiant Hope, is because you get that difficult moment. You find yourself lonely and not fitting in this world that you've lived in before. And you're looking for people who know. And sometimes the most beautiful thing about our suffering, even though it's all different, like yours and mine, it brings us together in community in a way we would never experience before. So building up Radiant Hope, for sure. We have a lot of programs that help people in ways that we actually tangibly support families. But the heart of that, of being the people that know and can walk with you through that difficulty, can be life-changing. And like you said, I do that with 15-year-old girls in difficult moments in life and 45-year-old women that are entering into maybe transitioning into the next phase of life, which is being called to another place outside of here. And so everyone's on a different spectrum. Time is weird. The older we get, time is a weird thing. So how are you going to choose to live this life you've been called to live? We can't change our circumstances. Can't change the phone call. You can't change the health diagnosis. You can't change, the person that's passed away or the person that's left you. But you can change how you respond to those moments. And if you can respond in a way that brings other people along and brings even a little teeny glimmer of hope into their impossible, then it's worth my work and my breath and my every single day to be here. And I'll do that until God calls me home, because I don't know what else we're living here for. like I said, time is weird and it's fast. And I will tell you, cancer, the one thing, a lot of things, but one of the main things it changed is that I focused on where I'm going next, because this place is very temporary, and it makes you feel temporary, makes your life feel real fragile. And if you just spend the rest of however many days it is scared of what's going to happen tomorrow, I don't know, that would be a waste for me. So instead, if I have tomorrow, I'm going to live it to the fullest. I'm going to love people the best that I can. I'm going to love them the way I was loved first, and comfort them the way that God comforted me, and be the best that I can be at impacting their lives while they're here too and called to this place. So yeah, I can look back over the arc of my life and see so many little fingerprints getting to me where I am now. I do wake up every single day feeling completely unworthy, completely ill-equipped, but that's where in our weakness, he is strong. So if I'd rather be strong like I thought I was at 17, or weak like I feel every single day now,
Right.
I'd rather be weak with God's strength magnified in me than me thinking I'm strong and I'm actually not. So, that's how I live my life. I hope that radiant hope goes on and on and on, way past me. I mean, if you ask what I've established, sure, I established a place for people with cancer to feel loved and known and supported and encouraged, but I know I'm not going to be here forever. So I hope that Radiant Hope impacts lives of families and people for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years to come, all because of Jenny Duncan and maybe my faithful yes.
Yep. Well, Joe, I just can't get over how awesome the story is, and this is why I wanted you on here. It wasn't just about Radiant Hope, but it's about what you said, because to me, hope is contagious.
Yeah.
And one phone call from you, this sitting today, just added a lot of hope to me and what I need to do next. And not say like, hey, it's not like it's adding hope where like, oh, I'm going to live forever. That's not what I mean.
Right.
It's like it's adding hope to like understanding like, hey, I'm not worthy, which is okay. And I need to remember that. Yeah. And he's given me more gifts than I'll ever deserve. Yeah. I was 1,000. Right. So we just want to thank you. And that was probably one of my like really favorite shows. Yeah. Like it literally was.
God's timing is kind of perfect too. Maybe we needed to talk today. My 10-year anniversary, you with a grand mal seizure. Yeah. Just being again reminded of, his goodness and why we're here.
Right.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thanks.